everyone, today we are going to play as the most democratic country to ever exist, DEMOCRATIA. Yes, it is quite something special. As you'll see today, it's going to be exciting, being extremely democratic. We're so democratic that we just let the majority do whatever they want, even if that includes giving foreign governments massive amounts of power. And that isn't going so well, so we're going to have to ban foreign involvement. We can't become a puppet state. That would kind of defy the entire purpose of being a democracy. But from here we will do the Founders Program to start improving our nation as we wait for the Bastion elector crisis to conclude. And once that concludes, we can move on with our very exciting political focus tree. We'll also too need to train more militia. It's very important that we have a well-functioning army because there are many conflicts that we'll need to get involved in the name of democracy, of course. And we start off with only a mere 2 research slots, so research is also going to be difficult. And all the countries in this region here are called the minor republics, and we happen to be, I think, the weakest of the minor republics if you don't count our dockyards, which they don't really matter at this point in the game. We're on par with places like Vulcania, but a lot of these other guys have more than just 1 military and 3 civilian factories. It's rather unfortunate, but I'm sure our sheer willpower will win us the day. Also too, in Democratia, we want to move our capital from New Helden here to Deldratia here, so we're going to have to build up the infrastructure to start facilitating that, and then eventually we'll be able to do this focus, the new capital, and that only requires 1 upgrade, so we'll only do 1. And here the Founders Program is complete for Democratia. 2, in this path, we'll want to keep a close eye on what our neighbors do, specifically Bastia and Purex. Purex, we kind of want them to do bad. Bastia, on the other hand, we will be opposed to them by some degree, maybe a pretty significant degree, but we importantly don't want them to do too terribly in their war against the Godless Empire and Hades, or whoever is the emperor when the war starts. It'll make more sense later, but we really don't want them to completely fail. We also too have been exploited financially for a very long time by this nation here, the Banking Federation, so we're going to improve relations with Bastia to try to secure some alternate financing. And no, I don't think I'm actually going to do this research. We really just can't do that. We don't have enough research slots to afford it. Now too, we will want to invest in education, do the Great States Act, and the Revolutionary Cavern renovations. They're all good. I think we probably should get the research slot first, though. And we'll click this decision here to secure our alternate financing, and in 30 days remove the terrible Banking Federation exploitation. We can stop improving with Bastia. We don't really care about them anymore, besides us not wanting them to completely die. And the 4th Dragoniopolis crisis has begun. This will just be a short war between the Empire and Bastia, and we can now do both. Resolve the Bastion elector crisis and the new capital. Resolve the Bastion elector crisis, though, will allow us to remove this national spirit, which we kind of don't really want to remove right now because it's a kind of good national spirit for the stability in consumer goods factories, and this focus too may lead to a civil war, so we kind of want to avoid it until we're a little bit stronger. So we will go with a new capital, do some of these focuses, and then do a couple of these focuses to get some more factories, build up a decent army, and then we will do resolve the crisis, break with Bastia, and then achieve true democracy. Also too, Furva is doing their extremely rare rebellion path against the Empire, where the modernists take control and fight them extremely early. And Imperial Vicespire too capitulated in the Civil War against Elendar, which is also extremely rare. This is shaping up to be pretty interesting, and in a good way, because we want the Godless Empire to be weak. Okay, so we'll do a patriotic industry, get a couple new military factories, and then we'll go ahead and resolve the elector crisis. I got an advisor to give us some stability, so the 40% stability hit won't be too bad. We also unfortunately have to deal with Bastia and Purex influencing and annexing the other minor republics before we can get to them to do something with them. Bernudum is the worst one because they start off so close to being annexed by Purex, and then Purex can invade them or take Port Crane, and it's going to be difficult for us to get to them, and delaying the Bastion elector crisis for 6 months like we did isn't going to make matters more easy. We'll see what happens though. I'm sure we'll be successful either way. And now here's this, the issue of neutrality. We will revoke neutrality. If we maintain neutrality, we're forced to go down our neutrality friendly path, which while is still interesting is not exactly what we want to do today. And now we will break with Bastia, and this doesn't only break with Bastia, it breaks with all of the minor republics and Purex, and potentially will cause a civil war. The odds that it causes a civil war are pretty high, that's why I'm hiding in this state around Eldradia in preparation. It's possible though, it's possible that there's no civil war. And I'm going to improve relations with Purex just in case that possibility manifests itself, and this may help. And yeah, improving with Purex did not help us, at least in this case. Blue flags in New Helden, Erlen is now demilitarized, Bastia and Purex are plotting an intervention force to stop us and force us to stay within the minor republic bloc. I will wait a few days for our divisions to regain organization. I haven't changed them much yet, but I added 1 artillery to them, so they'll be better than the intervention force divisions, and then we will not give in to the demands. The demands aren't too terrible, it just slightly decreases our political power and war support and production efficiency cap, but not to a significant degree, and it gives our 2 dockyards to Purex, which also doesn't really matter too much, but we're just going to fight them anyways because I hate them. And we'll get locked out of a lot of these focuses when we do the Civil War, but I believe we can do stay true to modernism, or it's probably not worth it. We should just set up Eldradia University. Here we go. We do what we want. The intervention force declares on us. If this wins, we will be reestablished as a new Democratia, which everything will be exactly the same. We will just uncomplete these focuses and complete this focus. They'll force us to stay within the block. Let's just try to end this as fast as possible. The intervention force has to move out from New Helden, so it gives us a little bit of time to sneak in, and then we can try to get into New Helden. And there we go. This might be very fast. New Helden alone should capitulate them. They're defending it though, and it is a very annoying mountain tile. I'll also make sure to increase my conscription law while we're in this war. We have terrible manpower as a Democratia. We only own 2 states, and they're decent population states, but nothing to field a giant army with. Okay, and we did it. Well, it would be very funny to puppet the intervention force. We will just take our states back. And here we are, we're Democratia. We're no longer guaranteed by Bastia and Purex. We're actually embargoed by them now. We switched out the guarantee for something much cooler. The main downside to this is now we can't declare on any of the other minor republics without Bastia and Purex directly getting involved. This isn't the worst situation though, as we have some focuses that'll help us get around that for a few countries, though eventually we will have to attack Bastia and Purex. Though if we play our cards right, we can do some interesting things with this battle against Bastia and Purex. And like I talked about earlier, it's going to be very hard to take Brunudum, so we are going to do this challenge Purex focus immediately now that the Civil War is over. There are 3 options of what can happen. Purex can defend Brunudum, and then we have to go to war with Purex, which isn't good, but is possible. They have twice our divisions combined, but it's possible. Second, they can agree to split Brunudum. They get Port Crane, we get the Bloodrich Mountains, which is a decent option. There's not much in Port Crane that we really want. And last, they can just stand aside and let us invade Brunudum, which is the best result because then we get everything and don't have to fight Purex yet. Though fighting Purex early can be good in a strange way, but we'll get to that later. 2, the Bloodrich Mountains is an amazing state because it has rubber and it'll be our first early access to rubber. There's a lot of rubber throughout the minor republics, but getting a lot of this rubber will be difficult. So the Banking Federation and Brunudum will be our best sources. Assuming we attack the Banking Federation, we would never do such an evil thing, of course, but if we did, we would get a lot of rubber. And unfortunately, we got the worst of the 3 options. Purex enforces peace. We at least got here before Purex annexed Brunudum themselves, but this is going to be tricky. The nice thing is we will only have to fight Purex, not Bastia and Purex. If Bastia was over here helping, there'd really be no points. But yeah, we'll let our divisions get to the front line and get some organization, and we really just have to capitulate Brunudum as fast as possible, but it's not really that possible because we have to get through these terrible blood-rich mountains to get to Port Crane, and we didn't make much progress before Purex got military access and began moving divisions in, but we did take the one very important province of Bloodrich City, which technically gives us control over this entire state, giving us access to the resources so we don't have to trade anymore, and giving us access to the factories. We just now need to sit in these 4 mountain tiles and 1 desert tile and not do anything as they probably attack into us and waste all their resources. And this is a favorable situation. In the middle of this conflict, Brunudum gave Port Crane to Purex, so now Brunudum only has 1 victory point right here, and if we take it, we should capitulate them. We're not going to be able to take it right now, but we should be able to soon. And once they capitulate, I feel like we can do some sneaky things to Purex, as they have a lot, if not all of their divisions, moving to Port Crane. Brunudum has fallen. We will annex them. They don't have any navy or anything to take, but Purex should have a small navy. So we now just need to move towards Creatrex very fast, hopefully take Tuskenge. And here we took Tuskenge. We've encircled some more divisions, and they're moving divisions out of Port Crane, probably moving them to the port in Creatrex. So we will need to reroute some of our own divisions over here for the main front. They have a lot of mountains here around Creatrex, so it's going to be difficult getting to their capital. Though if we are able to get there, we'll be able to finish this off and give us a huge advantage in the fights to come. We also have 10,000 guns after capitulating Brunudum, so I don't think we really need to make guns anymore. I'll actually probably start making some planes. Oh, I think I need to do this focus first to get some air experience, but then we can make some planes. Either way, they've lost, yeah. No reason to stress anymore. And the Godless Empire has done their funny path, where they get a new empress and then Hades kills her and becomes the emperor again. And here too, Purex is gone. We're very strong Democratia. We control the entire peninsula. We're like Florida, but Florida's over here. I mean, we're like Baja California. Now we are going to be doing two things. First, we are going to try to infiltrate the Banking Federation, so we'll be spying on them and eventually doing a decision to hopefully just annex them. There's another faster, cheaper option where we just invade them, but we have to defeat them in 7 days, so that's kind of difficult. We'll also too be trying to provoke Wassernaut to attack us. They're kind of powerful and kind of evil. Okay, and they demand an apology, which we will of course say no to. We'll escalate, they declare war on us, and this would usually be more difficult, but we're doing this war a bit late, so I don't think it will be too terrible. Also, Bastia and the Empire have gone to war, so the big war has started. This is slightly earlier than I would have liked it to start, but it's not terrible. I would have liked to fight the Dawnmarsh, because we do have some focuses to deal with them, but yeah, that's kind of off the table for the time being. And we crossed the river. This was the only real hard part, and now it's all easy. They should fall pretty fast here. They have a tank, which is annoying, but they always have a tank, so I was kind of prepared for that. And the Roads of Diamond are now ours. We will take everything here, and we are that much more powerful. Unfortunately, though, I thought this was going to be a kind of easy war for Bastia, but that's not going to be the case. It's one of the worst situations for them I've ever seen. Their only ally is the Yellow Wyvern Horde, who's capitulated already. There's a decent chance, though, that Siloth doesn't join their faction and eventually declares on the Empire, but it's going to be a tough challenge today. A tough challenge that'll probably make me want to cry. And in 60 days, we will infiltrate and annex the Federation. We also can now finally integrate Brunudum after all this time. Lastly, we have a focus here that'll allow us to get cores on the plains and the Roads of Diamond without having compliance, which is nice, so we won't have to wait for 20% compliance as long as we do that focus. And then we're kind of done with focuses here. And it'll be time to maybe join the Godless Empire's side, kind of temporarily, but it's kind of complicated also. This is not going to be an easy conflict by any means. Okay, and it's time. We will avenge the loans, we will integrate the Banking Federation, and then we will have to fight Bastia. They're in a precarious situation, a very bad situation, but they still should not be underestimated. We might have a nice number of factories, but they have a lot more factories than us. They are a major power, the strongest country in the world right now, so even though they're at war with literally everybody, we aren't going to easily walk into Ravreed unless we're able to easily walk into Ravreed. And it has begun, it's time, we're declaring on everybody, we're going to make the true South, a strong South that isn't going to lose in a war like this. It's going to be tricky, and we have no navy to invade Bastia's islands, and Bastia probably is going to naval invade us, so we should probably make a garrison, and then we will swing through the minor republics as fast as possible and try to get to the glorious city of Ravreed. If not before Bastia can get divisions there before the Godless Empire and Hades take it. We have green air, which is a miracle, and a lot of people are joining Bastia's faction now, and by a lot of people, just Romanskan and all the people we declared on. And we're moving too into Fraloria being a previous minor republic that Bastia has since integrated. We'll move our planes over to here if we can reach. Yeah, we can, barely. And hopefully move into Ravreed. The Godless Empire wants us to join their faction. This might be a good idea, but I'm going to say no, for reasons that'll become obvious later. I guess the Holy Dragons have their own faction. I've never seen this. The Confederate Independent Nations. I didn't even know this was a thing. I think it will actually be a good idea to join this faction. Yeah, it looks like a lot of Bastia's divisions are distracted elsewhere with their other fronts. And now that we control Ravreed, we can declare Democratian victory. We get some more support, a lot of compliance, which is good. It'll help us integrate things. We can also start getting cores, and then we'll make a very interesting decision that will make a lot of people hate us and put us in a pretty bad position, honestly. So yeah, we'll finally get cores on Purex. We've controlled it for a long time. We have a lot of compliance there. We'll get those cores fast. We'll soon get cores on Bastia too. Though, even though this may sound weird, we want to stop fighting Bastia. We don't want to fight Bastia at all anymore. We will just put some divisions on an order here to defend this front, add some divisions to that. And then we're going to put some of our divisions on the border with the Duchy of Donmarsh. Okay, this is the focus I've been talking about. Continue the cause. Bastia is failing and falling into ruin. We are now the last hope for modernism. Bastia must recognize this and surrender so that we can join forces. If our war continues, Hades will have the last laugh. If they do not accept, they doom us all, because there's no way that we can defeat Hades if we aren't working together. And they made the good decision. We now own all of this stuff. We have a buffer state. Well, they're gonna capitulate, so they're not really a buffer state. And Bastia is now a very powerful puppet. They have a good navy, they still have all their islands, they have some divisions, I guess. Okay, compliance is finally getting high in all of these areas, so we can start integrating them. We will integrate Ravreed too, that'll be important. These are some very, very good states. And then it will be time to attack Mr. Havy's Gildenwing. We will design some Cass though. Cass will help us win this. And Siloth is finally at war with the Empire, so this is our best chance to maybe win, maybe have victory, maybe get to Dragoniopolis. Hopefully we can take out Runia too. It'd be really nice to just take them out, and then Marianne can help elsewhere and not be distracted with this front. And things are going well so far. We've had to increase our conscription law back to requirements, but we've cut off their forces down here and we're moving north through the southern stretch. I really think the Empire might fail with both Siloth and Democratia at war with them. Hades is killing people now though, so that's kind of concerning. We really need to finish this up before he kills Dursim and causes some mass chaos in Siloth. It's likely though to happen at this point. Okay, and Lord Caldecor was killed, our ally. We now need to move some divisions to the south, and we're kind of running out of time too. We're at least moving fast as we possibly can. We also have 329 factories too. We are very powerful. We can't break through these mountains. Progress is getting a little slow here. We're still just battle planning and moving forward a lot, but progress just isn't fast enough. We have to get so far. I just need to get in. No. The final war? Is this the end? The shadow of defeat, the plan, the second look, the refugee crisis, the song of death. We were probably a week or two away from taking Core Hall. To finish the playthrough though, we will click that's enough, but this is usually where the asteroid would destroy everything. There's an option though to click that so we don't have to immediately end the game. And we now have full control over the state of Dragoniopolis, so we can do the focus, the New World Order. I should mention, but we've been at war with Siloth ourselves this entire time, so we still have a long way to go before peace, but we at least can finish our focus tree now. And the Flare capitulated with 1 million different people dividing it up, so now we host the Flare government in exile, and at long last we have the New World Order. For in the glorious mountain hideout, the original Democratians, they saw not past the fate of their own. The world was so vast and large, they could only dream of what stood across the horizon. Now we step beyond it. We fly above faraway castles. We raise our flag above towers once belonging to the likes of Hades. The world's fate, though, does not lie in our minds, but in the minds of all who we rule over. Through the tenets of democracy, they will all receive salvation. It was said once by Laza Heldes that only fools expect to not become the thing they rule over, for the voice of 1,000 will change the voice of the one, more than the voice of the one can change the voice of the 1,000. With these words of damnation has the legacy of Hades, the godless empire, and the Republic of Bastia fallen. Once the empire sought to reign over the whole southern stretch, expanding its imperial might by the fallacious pretext of modernist control of the Palacelands. Once Bastia passed an Elector Act in Democratia, beginning a daring trend of Bastians ruling over those here. Now that history will be erased and a new era will begin. With no need to fear such things, the majority will be all-powerful and will ensure that we get what we want. We're now known as the Democratic Order of the Electors, and that is where we'll end things off for today. And I will see you all next time.